we see that there's this spiritual hierarchy of needs, that a wilderness is used to shape our growth as Christians, part of that divine discipleship strategy that God has. We see that wildernesses allow us to create a healthy dependence on God. They allow us to create a healthy security in God, and they allow us to develop healthy relationships in God. This leads us to the fourth stage of our spiritual hierarchy, which I want to call healthy preparation. One of my favourite films is Forrest Gump. I liken myself to Forrest Gump, with people having to put big signs up to say, "Stop, Forrest, stop," because I can get so blinkered sometimes in what I'm doing. But there's a part of Forrest Gump is Lieutenant Dan. And Lieutenant Dan was living up to the heritage that every member of his family had died in a major conflict. And when Forrest Gump saves him, a large part of the film is his anger at Forrest Gump for having rescued him and saved his life. And he goes through this moment where he has this cathartic moment in the middle of a horrendous storm, which Forrest describes as him having this argument with God. And he comes through that with a sense of peace. And I think sometimes we need the wilderness experience to help us discover that self-esteem of who we really are. And if we're going to learn our skill and learn our craft and learn our abilities and use the gifts God has given us healthily, we need the opportunity to make mistakes, and we need that time to prepare. But the biggest part of preparing to use the gifts God has given us is our character. Wildernesses strip away everything that's non-essential and take us back to basics. And to go through the wilderness is to go through a form of personal transformation, where we've laid those foundations. If we're then going to grow in God, we have to allow God to strip everything away. Elijah had that moment, that moment of crisis in the cave, where he's in his cave and he's got a grump on, and he's pouring out his heart to God and going, "Poor old me, God, this is another fine mess you've got me into." But he gets honest with God, and there's something raw in that emotion of getting honest with God. And as he does so, he has an encounter with God where God works on Elijah's character, he works on his nature to prepare him for the rest of the ministry that lies ahead. How we respond to the wilderness, how we grow personally in the wilderness, will shape our capacity for the future and for any ministry that God might want us to have. Our capacity to achieve the purposes of God is often limited by our own character. And this spiritual healthy preparation, this layer of the spiritual hierarchy of needs, is where God wants to get honest with us, with ourselves, having the security of a relationship in God. God can then say, out of that security, I can now deal with your character to help you move into your potential. Don't fear the wilderness. If you're going through a time at the moment where it feels a bit bumpy, or you're going through experiences that are a little bit painful, I want to suggest to you that maybe what God is doing is working on your character and refining your character so that you can be all who he wants you to be.